Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. As usual, for anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Katie. I'm a qualified therapist who's really passionate about all things mental health, therapy and personal development. Today we are going to be talking about journaling. I want to do a series on my YouTube about different ways that we can improve our mental health, but actually talk about them in a bit more detail. And today I wanted to start with journaling because I feel like it's something that people are curious about or have attempted before, but it's hard to know kind of how to get started, how to stick to it, etc. So hopefully today's video will be really helpful for anyone who's looking to get started on their journaling journey. So as usual, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I do lots of different things here. I talk about TV, I react to TV therapy, I talk about different mental health conditions. Please follow me on Instagram as well. So yeah, let's get started then. Let's talk about journaling. Before I start breaking down how to actually get started, and I am going to go kind of step by step, I wanted to talk more generally about the benefits of journaling. So journaling can be really good for your mental health because we're getting something out of our system and we're at the same time processing it. So it's really good for anxiety because you're writing down and externalizing a lot of the anxious thoughts. Sometimes we have so many different thoughts kind of whirling around our brain, so many different concerns, perhaps suffering with intrusive thoughts, things that are really throwing us off and leaving us feeling quite disturbed. There's something to be said about externalizing it, to being able to process it. A bit like in therapy, when you say something out loud, hearing it back can do something to the brain where it doesn't feel as scary, it doesn't feel as big, and you're just more able to process the thing that you're talking about. Well, journaling is really similar to that. You're just not talking to another human being, you're externalizing it and writing it down. So it's really good for anxiety. It's really good for regulating your emotions. If you're feeling a lot of fear, for example, and again, you're kind of getting it out of your system by putting pen to paper. Same with any sadness, grief, anger, any kind of emotion. It's really good for processing that and also regulating as well. We can feel very overwhelmed by our emotions and we need an outlet for them often. And that can be done by talking to somebody, or again, as I said, saying something out loud, but also writing things down as well. It can also break a cycle of anxiety and thoughts. I mentioned intrusive thoughts. Often what happens there is we have an intrusive thought, there's suddenly loads of anxiety, we attach a lot of meaning to it, then we start panicking, then we do, if you've got OCD, you do like compulsions because you're trying to disprove the intrusive thought or find out some more information and gain certainty. With all mental health conditions, we can get into a cycle, and doing something active like journaling can break that cycle. It also improves our perception of certain events. Often when something is happening or has happened to us, we have our own perspective that, it's not to say that your perspective is wrong, but it might be quite distorted because of how you're feeling. So again, through those strong emotions, like feeling really upset about something, feeling really hurt, feeling really angry. Sometimes by writing an event down, almost like telling the story to yourself, you can gain a lot more perception and ground yourself in what actually happened. So it's almost like truth finding as well, because again, when something is in our own heads, we can lose sight of the facts, we can lose sight of what's actually happened and not feel very grounded at all. So journaling is also great for that. And you'll know if you've watched my other videos that there is a strong link between mental health and physical health, and there's definitely physical symptoms of every kind of mental health condition. And because journaling is such an outlet, it can also reduce those physical symptoms that you might be experiencing. So you might notice your breathing go back to normal, or your heart rate again going back to normal if you're feeling really anxious, because it's that outlet for your anxiety. And naturally there's going to be an improvement to your physical health if there's a reduction to your stress levels and an improvement to your mood. Again, because that connection between the mind and the body is so strong, and stress is such a big cause of like physical problems, that anything that we can do to kind of make sure that we're managing our stress is going to help with your overall health. Some other benefits then is that it can just give catharsis, it's an emotional release. It also can be the beginning of letting go of something that perhaps is holding you back. It can prevent the suppression of emotions. I've spoken a lot about like emotional regulation, but often people suppress so much of what's happened to them and so much of how they're feeling, and journaling can again be a really good outlet for that, so we're not suppressing so much anymore. And finally, it can be used as a bit of an exposure. So if you're somebody that is suffering with OCD or a traumatic event, something where you're trying to reduce a lot of fear and anxiety, journaling can be like, it can feel like a safer way to expose yourself to that by, again, like telling the story of what happened, or writing down your fears, or, you know, writing down your worst case scenarios, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for ways to bring exposure into your kind of treatment plan, journaling might be one where you feel a little bit more in control, because often exposures obviously can make us feel extremely out of control and very scared. That's kind of the intention. It can be good to do it in a safe way through journaling. So there are a few of the benefits of journaling then, lots of different ones, and as I said, it can be used to treat all kinds of mental health conditions or just support your overall well-being. But how do we get started then? So I'm going to go through the kind of step-by-step of the what, the where, the when, the how, and I've already spoken about the why. So starting off with the how then. The how is kind of your tools in terms of journaling. So you can go to a paper chase or go to a lovely stationery store and treat yourself to a really nice pen, a really beautiful notebook. I tend to use a diary for my journaling. So excuse the sound. I have a diary every single year. I always get one for Christmas. And I just like it, I think, because it keeps me kind of organised in terms of like doing it daily. But you don't have to get a dated diary at all. You can just get a pen and paper, or a notebook and paper, or some people journal on post-it notes. Some people use their laptops. You don't have to actually handwrite. I personally prefer handwriting because even though my handwriting is really bad, I kind of like that because there's more free flow to it. I'm not necessarily trying to get it perfect, because it certainly isn't going to be with the state of my handwriting. Whereas when I've tried journaling on my laptop in the past, I feel like I'm kind of writing an email or an essay or something that is a bit more professional or academic, and perhaps it's just a mental block that I have that other people probably don't have, but I struggle to be more authentic when I'm typing versus with the pen and paper. But it's really important that you just find the right thing for you, because that's the main thing, something that you're really comfortable with. And you can actually buy journals that include journal prompts. So if you're really kind of needing that support to get started, I'm going to leave links below to some journals that I recommend, that the sole purpose is to kind of get you started on your journaling journey, and they intentionally ask you questions all to do with wellness and your mental health. So that's the kind of how. Moving on to when. That's a question that I get asked quite a lot when it comes to when to journal. Do you do it at the start of the day, the middle of the day, right before you go to sleep? And you guessed it, there's not like a specific correct answer. It is very much that, you know, person to person. It's going to vary. Kind of different times are going to suit different people, and there's something about what you're trying to do journaling wise, which I'll talk a bit more about later. But if you're really just trying to like free flow and get all your thoughts out, get any of your thoughts out, I tend to find the morning quite good for that. So this is what we call morning pages, where you quite literally wake up, you've got your pen and paper on your bedside table, and you just start writing, and you're perhaps half asleep still, or still thinking about a dream that you had, and you're getting it all out. And it's really interesting to see what comes up, because it can be extremely random. As I said, it could be about the dream you've had, something that happened the day before, or just something that you did not expect from like years ago, or a future problem. It's so hard to predict, but that's why doing that in the morning can be really good. If you're leaning towards getting rid of some worries, you've got a high amount of anxiety, I would say the evening is quite good for that one. And again, everyone's going to have different opinions about this. The reason I would say getting your fears and concerns out in the evening is good is because you're kind of getting it out of your system before going to bed. Often people who have a lot of things on their mind, a lot of things to be kind of worried about, they tend to go to bed and ruminate and struggle to sleep, and they're going over everything again and again and again. So externalizing it and getting it on paper before you sort of ease into your nighttime routine, or obviously including it as part of your nighttime routine, can be really beneficial. I also used to do gratitude in the evening as well, because I just found it easier, because again, you're thinking of 3-5 things that you're grateful for that's happened that day. And of course in the evening it's just a bit easier because you've got like the whole day to sort of reflect on. But there really isn't a set time. I still like to do 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. I do that whenever I get a spare 5 minutes. So I do that in the morning, sometimes in the evening, in between sessions. We do it perhaps during my lunch break. So like anytime I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do my gratitude now. Or when I'm feeling a bit down, to be honest, if something's prompted me emotionally to do it. So if I'm feeling a bit low and I'm like, oh, I'm struggling to like connect today for whatever reason, then I will just either pick up my phone or pick up my pen and paper and write down 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for. So again, it really doesn't matter what time of day you're doing it, but if there's specific things that you're looking to achieve through your journaling, you might want to do some research in terms of the best times for those specific things. Another question is where to write. So with this, I would definitely recommend doing it on your own. This might not be possible if you've got kids or just people around you all the time, and that's absolutely fine. It doesn't mean that you can't do it, but there's something about being alone, obviously with your own thoughts, having that time to reflect on what's happened that day or the things that you're worried about, or just reflect in general about a particular situation. It's a lot easier to do that if you're by yourself. Something about being comfortable as well. So again, that's why with morning pages, it can be quite nice to just do it in bed straight away as part of your kind of waking up. I try and leave my desk when I'm journaling, because sometimes if I don't do that, it feels like it's like another thing on the to-do list. Oh, I need to journal. And I'm kind of doing it at my desk amongst other work tasks. It's not the end of the world, obviously. A desk makes it easier to write, but sometimes I will try and take myself to the sofa or just somewhere more comfortable so that there's that kind of mental separation. So there's work and then there's the stuff that I'm doing for me. So try and bring a little bit of that. But really, at the end of the day, it's about trying to find a quiet place, a comfortable place, a place where you feel able to do it. And that can mean anything. I know people that have journaled in their car, obviously not whilst driving, but they just have a quiet 5 minutes in their car. People do it in cafes, and again, that's not quiet, but they're not chatting to anyone. They are still by themselves. They're having a nice cup of coffee and they get to just reflect and think about all the different things that they want to think about and try and process. You might feel, I know this kind of contradicts what I've just said, but you might feel a bit safer to do it if you are around people. So definitely, as usual, think of what works for you and what's going to make you feel the most comfortable. So moving on to what to write. I think this is the question when it comes to journaling that I get asked the most, is like, what on earth do I write about? How do I get started? I'm just sat with a pen stuck. I've already mentioned a few ideas. So the morning pages one is just free flowing, and you don't have to do it in the morning. It's just called morning pages because we tend to, as I said, are able to flow a bit more first thing in the morning. If that doesn't work for your routine, you can free write or free flow, whatever you want to call it, at any time of the day. And that is quite literally just seeing what comes up. Now, some people hate this because it's like, I need a prompt, I need to know something. But actually, if you're someone that really struggles, there might be something going on there. There might be a bit of a block. Perhaps you're not that in touch with yourself, and that's not a criticism, but it might actually mean that journaling is going to be really beneficial for you, because actually you need to kind of unlock something or bring down some sort of barrier or get in touch with your emotions if you're like, I don't know what to do. But at the same time, don't feel the pressure. If free flowing isn't for you, that's also okay. Something that I used to do, as I've already mentioned, is starting with gratitude. So you can do it in full sentences or as bullet points. I've definitely played around with both. I've just done like a list of things that I'm grateful for. That absolutely counts. But I've also wrote down in like a proper way of the things in my life that I'm really happy with, that I'm proud of myself about, that I'm grateful for, that I appreciate, kind of big things, small things, and actually kind of turned it into more a journal entry. Something else that I've already mentioned is concerns, things that you're worried about. So again, I've done this before. I used to do this quite clinically, and you don't have to do this at all. But in my journal, I would split my page into 2 columns. I'd write down all my fears and my worst case scenarios and everything that I was scared about and concerned about in one column, and then in the other column I looked at it, each one again, sat with it a bit, and then wrote how I felt. So, you know, an example would be I suffer with a fear of flying, or did, I should say, because I'm not too bad now. So if I wrote down as an example, like, I've got a flight in 2 weeks, I can't stop thinking about it, I'm worried it's going to crash, I'm worried it's going to be awful, I'm worried I'm going to really embarrass myself for getting upset. On the other side, I would say talk about the unlikelihood of that and the kind of training that the air stewards have had, and think about times that I've flown before and did really well, or even just write myself a message being like, it's okay that you're scared, but you know, it's going to be fine, you are stronger than you think. And just like affirmations, which leads nicely on to, that's another one, is just kind of writing affirmations to yourself. Something else that I've definitely done before, just something that I would need. So it's kind of that looking inward and thinking, what do you need to hear? What would you love someone to say to you right now? What would you love to believe? And actually writing that down. So like, I am enough, it's going to be okay, I can do this, I am strong enough. Whatever comes to mind, just literally writing it down, because you're then affirming it. It's exactly the same as some people like to look in the mirror and say things to themselves. Some people absolutely hate the idea of that. So maybe if that's you, actually writing some kind of words of encouragement or affirmations to yourself can be a good place to start. And again, this all counts as journaling. I think sometimes we have a fixed view of what journaling is, and it's really flexible. You can use it however you want. So that's another example. Another one is writing a letter. So you can write, again, a letter to yourself, or a past self, or a future self. You know, if there's trauma involved, say when you were a child, you might want to write to your child self. You also might want to write to any particular person in your life that has caused you pain, trauma, hurt, that you're really angry with, or that you feel guilty. You know, perhaps there's something unresolved and you might never get the chance to say that, so you want to write them a letter. It can be really helpful to write letters in grief, you know, writing to somebody that you've lost as well. So writing any kind of letter is a really good place to start as well. And again, that can be to yourself, any version of yourself, but also to someone else. And it's just getting your thoughts. There's no expectation to send it. It's still a journal. It's still just for you, but just having that person in mind. And finally, then using journal prompts. So this is specific questions to get you reflecting on specific things. There are so many journal prompts out there. I'm going to leave information below where you can follow like Instagram accounts that have journal prompts, or, you know, just a quick Google. As I said, you can actually buy journals that have certain prompts in them. And this is really great if you really just don't know what you need, or where to start, or how to get going. It can be so helpful just to have a question posed at you, and then you're like, oh, I've never thought about this before. So a journal prompt could be, you know, what's something that you like about yourself? Or another one could be, what's something that you would say to yourself as a teenager now? Another one could be, where do you hope to be in 5 years, and sort of get you reflecting on the future. There can be so many different ones about processing something or releasing an emotion. You know, another one that comes to mind is they'll say, you know, think of a time that you were angry and you were able to get through it, or think of a time and reflect on a time when you were sad and you were able to get through it. So it really gives you pause for thought in terms of getting through a particular situation. So again, there's different prompts for yourself, for emotions, for the past, for the future, that get you to tap into gratitude, to get you to tap into like affirming yourself, and also figure out like goals and stuff. So something that I didn't say at the beginning actually is another great thing about journaling is it can really structure our thoughts around what we want out of life, or what we want to achieve, what we hope to achieve, things like that. So you can find prompts that are similar to that in terms of your future or achievements or bucket lists, you know, that really kind of get you reflecting on where you see yourself in the future. So another question would be, how much do I need to write? And yep, you guessed it, it's completely up to you. So you can write page after page after page, especially if you've got a particular prompt or a letter or something that just requires so much. Morning pages definitely tend to be quite long, that's the point, but you can set that. If you've only got 5 minutes in the morning to do this, then just do a couple of pages. You might find though that you want to keep going, and I think, you know, it's always good to lean into that and just keep going until you like actually run out of things to say. But of course, we've all got lives, we've all got things to get on with, so that's not always possible. As I said, with my gratitude journal, I literally write a list of 3 things, maybe an affirmation after that, and that's it. So it takes me like, sometimes it depends on the day obviously, but sometimes it can take me like 30 seconds because it's literally 3 words or max 3 sentences, and that's absolutely fine. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve and how much time you have. And there's no right or wrong. I think that's something I would really encourage you to let go of. Often we're like, I can't journal because I'm not someone that kept a diary as a kid, and I can't just write page after page. That's fine. You can write 3 sentences about yourself and that still counts. I think once we let go of that expectation, we're more able to do it. And then the final question is usually, how often do I have to journal in order to feel the benefit? So what you'll see often on social media or when you Google is you have to do this every day. I'm here to tell you that you do not need to do this every single day. I certainly don't journal every day. I've had phases of my life where I have done to get me through a particular difficult time. So for example, during a particular anxious time, I was doing those 2 columns that I described earlier pretty much every night. I've definitely done gratitude every day for an extended period of time, and I've done free flow, just random journaling every day for like a week or so, or a couple of weeks. But I'll be honest, it's been sporadic. It's not been every single day for years and years and years. Like, that it would just be a complete lie if I said that was the case. So don't worry about doing it every single day. You might want to set yourself a goal, like for 7 days in a row I'm going to try and do it. Or I know some people like to do monthly goals, so like, okay, a monthly goal is to try and journal as much as I can, or try and journal every single day. But you really do take the essence out of it if it feels like another massive thing on the to-do list that feels really annoying and inconvenient, is adding to your stress because you're like, oh, I haven't journaled today, oh my god. Like, no, that's not what we want. It's supposed to be helping your well-being. So bringing it in gently with no pressure and doing it as and when you need. I think when it's like this overwhelming thing that we have to do all the time, then often we're not doing it when we need it, or it all kind of blurs where it's like you're not even sure if you need to do it or not. So I definitely tend to lean into it more when I really feel like there's something I've unprocessed, or I've just got a lot on my mind, and my therapy, which is a great outlet, just isn't enough because you can only have 1 session a week, obviously, or usually. So that's when I start journaling, because I'm like, I've got so much that I still need to get out, and 50 minutes once a week just isn't enough for me at the moment. So I'm going to pick up the pen and paper and just scribble down all my thoughts and feelings, and, you know, perhaps practice some gratitude and write down some things that I'm concerned about, and, you know, a mixture. You don't have to stick to one thing. Sometimes as well, I'll look through some journal prompts because I'm like, I've got the urge to journal. There's something, I can feel something, I'm feeling a bit sad, but I don't really know what I want to write about. So then I'll like do a quick Google of like journal prompts when feeling sad, or journal prompts when feeling depressed, see what comes up, and then often there'll be a question or a sentence that will just speak to me, and I'm like, that's it. That's the one that I want to write about. So I'm going to spend 10 minutes writing about it now. To answer the question, there is no fixed rule in terms of how often. I'm sure there's loads of studies that say, you know, if you do it every single day, you'll see this drastic improvement in your mood, and that's probably true. So if you can do it every day, who am I to obviously discourage that? And this isn't about discouraging that. It's more that the people that I work with, they're like, I tried to start journaling, but I couldn't do it every single day, and it started to stress me out, and I didn't know whether to do it in the morning or in the evening, and I tried doing it in the morning, but then I wanted to go to the gym, but then I forgot about doing it in the evening, and I'm watching them getting so worked up about something that is supposed to be good for you. So that's why I'm taking the pressure off here. And it's just kind of as and when, and trying your best to do it as often as you can, but whatever that means to you. So that is everything that I wanted to share today in terms of journaling. Hopefully that can help you get started. As I said before, I'm going to leave so much down below around different journaling prompts, different journals you can buy, and a link around the benefits of journaling as well. Let me know in the comments if you journal and what helps you, as someone that is very much on their own journey with journaling. I would appreciate any kind of comments, advice, tips, or perhaps your own journal prompts that you want to share. That would be amazing. Please like this video if you found it helpful. Please subscribe to my channel. Please follow me on Instagram as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.